Solve. It is recommended that you verify your answer is indeed a solution, I guess, before you move on. So let's take a look at A. A ticking thing is to see that there's a negative 2x on the left-hand side and a 2x on the right-hand side, and think somehow those just go away. That's not the case. These are not the same thing on opposite sides. These are opposite things on opposite sides. So I'm going to begin by adding x to both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Okay, so I might even just write that off to the side. I'm going to add. When I add 2x to the left-hand side, it becomes simply the value 4. There was a negative 2x there, but I added 2x, and now it's just a 4. On the right-hand side, I have 2x, and I'm adding 2 more x's. That's going to give me 4 x's on this side. And I still have the negative 16. So that's the first thing I did, was I added 2x to each side. Now I'm going to add 16 to each side. Add 16. When I add 16 to the left-hand side, I have a 4, and 4 plus 16 is going to make 20. And over on the right-hand side, I've got this negative 16, and negative 16 plus 16 is going to give me 4x. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 4. If I divide the left-hand side by 4, I get the value 5. And when I divide the right-hand side by 4, I get x. Guess what? X should be the number 5. How can I verify that? Well, I can verify it by taking this number 5 and placing it here and here. So if I place the number 5 in those two spots, I'll just write my check up above it, I'm going to get negative 2 times 5 will be negative 10 plus 4. On the other side, it's going to be 2 times 5, which is positive 10 minus 16. Well, negative 10 plus 4 equals negative 6, and 10 minus 16 is also negative 6. Because these two values are exactly the same, right? They're both negative 6. I know that this is a solution. Why? Because it made the left-hand side and the right-hand side the same. For part B, I do have a 2x on each side, and they're both positive 2x's on each side. So if I was to subtract that 2x from each side, I'm going to take that away from each side. I'm going to subtract this 2x and this 2x. When I do that, my left-hand side becomes the number 4, and the right-hand side becomes the number 10. What? 4 is not the same as negative 10. This is false. This is undeniably false. Because 4 equals negative 10 is false, we know that there's no solution. There's no value of x that you could pick that would ever make this equation true. Literally, none. Try and find one. Let's move on. Well, let's just point out, though, that when you are solving an equation and you get a contradiction like this, when you get something equals something other than itself, it collapses to that, you just know that x didn't matter, and there's no x that you could pick that would matter. And C looks very similar, doesn't it? Because on C, I can see that each side of this equation has a negative 2x. Each side has a negative 2x. So I could, and I will, add 2x to each side. If I add 2x to each side, the left-hand side is going to become 3. And when I add 2x to the right-hand side is going to become 1 plus 2. Oh, 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 is 3. This is true. This is always true. 3 is always 3. So that means, again, the negative 2x didn't matter in this situation. I could have picked any value I would wanted to, and it would have always been the case that this equation would have been true regardless of the value of x that I selected. So when this happens, we say our solution is all real numbers. And then for our final equation, lots of ways we can go with this. I'm going to begin by adding 4x to both sides. When I add 4x to the left-hand side, it becomes negative 12. There was a negative 4x over there on that side, but I added 4x to it, and negative 4x and 4x is 0, so that's why that's just negative 12. Over on the right-hand side, I have 3x, and I'm adding 4x. That's going to make 7x, and then, of course, plus 9. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 9. So when I subtract 9 from the right-hand side, it's just going to become 7x. I took away 9 from that side. Over on the other side, I have negative 12, and I'm going to decrease that further. I'm going to decrease that by 9. Negative 12 minus 9 is negative 21. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 7. When I divide the left-hand side by 7, I get negative 3. And when I divide the right-hand side by 7, I get x. X is negative 3. This is another problem where I can check my work because it's not the no solution or all real numbers. So let's quickly take this value of negative 3 and plug it in for x, the two spots where x was. When I do that, over on the right-hand side, I have negative 4 times negative 3, which is positive 12. And then I have a minus 12. So this becomes 12 minus 12, which is 0. Over on the right-hand side, I have 3 times that negative 3, which is going to be negative 9. And negative 9 plus 9 is also 0. So you can see when I place negative 3 into the original equation, it makes both sides equal to 0. So yep, it is the solution.